Welcome back, everybody. This is DisCuss Foundation. We're going to be going over episode 4. Let's see. Episode 4, Barbarians at the Gate.
Yes,
My name,
Barbarians at the Gate.
as always, I'm your host, Nick, and this is my co-host, Brian. Brian actually is just
Hey,
fresh off of the show floor for Comic-Con, so
yeah,
we got to be super exhausted. How was it, man?
it was really fun. So I just want to apologize real quick about that because I saw the walk. I was like, oh, it's like a 15-minute walk from the con to the hotel. I'm good. I can make it. I can make it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it that did not happen.
that's fine. Yeah, I mean, it's Comic-Con. You have a good excuse. But how was the con?
It was good. It was really good. It was fun. A lot smaller than what it normally is. So it is what it is. So there's not much
Yeah.
we could do about that.
I was gonna ask, did you see any Foundation stuff at Comic Con? Anybody wearing Raish's jacket or anybody like wearing some
Not
weird Foundation stuff?
Not yet, not yet. There was a couple of flyers, billboards, advertisements
Oh,
for it.
okay, cool.
So it did have a presence there, but not yet. I think it's too early for people to cosplay the
Right.
characters. Like if it was a few more episodes, they would definitely do it. We
Yeah.
saw one guy from Squid Games and that was it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully,
So
hopefully next year we start to see a little more like Foundation stuff popping up and at the cons and everything. See a little more. There's a lot of really cool costumes in there, so I can see a lot of like potential
yeah,
for cool cosplay opportunities and stuff. But
yeah, especially in this episode too.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to go ahead and jump into some big news, guys. We have a big announcement today that came through, which is really exciting. Which is season 2 has already been greenlit from Apple. So I was really surprised hearing that news, just because of how expensive the show is, and it doesn't seem like it's gotten that much attention so far as like mainstream attention. I think it's just because it's on Apple TV Plus, and it's not one of the kind of major streaming networks as of yet, but it is kind of building out its library. But I thought it was a pretty cool move that Apple TV had enough confidence in it to just greenlight it. Only four episodes into this season. I think they can kind of see the potential that we do with it. So I think that's really
Yeah.
exciting.
No, I'm really excited to hear that, and especially with this episode, because one of the things that you talked about was it doesn't have like the umph, the bigness of some of the other shows. Because you have C that has Jason Momoa,
Hmm.
the Morning Show, Steve Carell, Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston. So a lot of big
Obviously, Ted
marquee,
Lasso, which has been like
yeah,
huge for them too. Yeah.
swept the Emmys. So for this show, especially in this episode, because it starts going in, you didn't have a lot of the big names that you had in the first few episodes.
Yeah.
So having the doing like that, where you not a lot of unknown actors, a lot of actors that are not big names, like we talked about before, Lee Pace, Jared Harris, were the two biggest names from here,
Hmm.
and it's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for it.
Well, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to do kind of our basic overview of our feelings on the episode, as far as like how good did we think it was? Is this one of our favorites, kind of thing? We're going to talk a little about our personal attachment to the episode, and then we're going to kind of go into a more in-depth recap of the scenes and stuff that went on through the episode there. And then we're because I don't know if you feel the same way. I think we talked about it in our first episode for episodes 1 through 3, but they've thrown a lot at us. They've thrown a whole lot of
Yes.
information at us, and this episode was no different. There's a lot of new faces thrown at us, new characters, new places, new kind of political stuff happening in the world that we'll
Yeah.
definitely get into when we do our recap. But what I thought what might be beneficial for us, as well as anybody listening to that might be feeling a little information overload at this point here, is we're going to do a kind of a little character quiz with each other, where we're just going to kind of talk about some of the nouns in the foundation, so some people, places, and things, and see how well we're retaining some of this information that is just keep getting thrown at us every second on this show. So I thought that'd be kind of a fun way to do that. And then lastly, we'll go ahead and do our predictions as far as what we think is going to be coming in the following episodes. What do we think? What do we think based on the information in this episode we see going forward? So. Um, yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into it. What was your kind of basic feeling of this episode? Did you really like this one?
I think this is my favorite episode. Just because you finally get to see a lot of repercussions and the after effects, and you delve deeper into the personalities of Cleon. So for that, I really, really love this. So to me, this was one of my favorite episodes. When I watched it this morning, I was impressed with the cinematography, with the acting, with everything about it, and the story. I sometimes in Foundations that I've noticed is that you get to the point where you're kind of like, okay, nothing's really happening. There's no point in
Mhm.
the story, and you get kind of like you trail off a little bit. This episode got me where each beat I was with it. It made sense, and I just loved it. I thought so far this has been the best episode they've produced and they've made for the series itself.
Yeah, I think this one I think that's a good point. I think this episode was really good at fleshing out character in this one. I felt like we learned a lot more about the characters' kind of personalities in this one than we did in the other ones. The other ones were kind of plot mostly. And
Yeah.
I did get the feeling I still think episode 3 is probably my favorite so far, but I did get the
Okay.
feeling that this was just because this felt like a setting the stage episode. It definitely felt like
Yeah.
something where they're kind of setting up pieces that are going to really move in interesting ways in the next few episodes here. So this did kind of feel like it was great in that we learned more about the characters, but it felt like they're kind of setting up their chess pieces for moves that they're about to do and stuff too. So it felt kind of anticipation of the next episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was one of the things I liked a lot about it. Because I know we're not gonna get into like the character or like the episode breakdown and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Is you saw the personality, like you got to see more of each character, and it made you it got you attached to each one in different ways, different feelings, different emotions for them, because you start seeing I think it's her name is Sal, the warden of
Salvor Horton, the warden of
Salvor, thank you.
Terminus, I think.
Terminus, yeah.
Mhm.
So you got to see more of her and how she is as a person, and I really enjoyed the deep dive because the past two episodes they all said like, "Oh, Salvor, who is she? What is she? What makes her so great?"
Mhm.
And this episode, you don't see what makes her great, but you start seeing like there is something really, really, really great about her.
Mhm.
And did Harry? Yeah, it is Harry, right? Yeah, did Harry
Harry.
predict her? Yeah, in his psycho history or
Yeah,
is
well,
it psycho? Yeah,
I
psycho.
psychohistory. I think that's the $1 million
Yeah,
question they're trying to set up is whether or not her existence is something Harry accounted for. If she's part of the plan, or if she's an outlier and she may be damaging his plan. I think that's what they're trying to set up as kind of the fulcrum question in this episode is whether or not Salvor is being detrimental to the plan of the Foundation, or if she's the cause of what might make it succeed. So it's kind of an all or nothing bet in that regard there. But yeah, that's definitely something that they were setting up in this one.
yeah.
But yeah,
But yeah,
we
so
can we
yeah.
can go ahead and jump into the episode here. So the
All
episode
right.
does open with a new character, a new face that we hadn't seen.
Yes.
We saw briefly last episode when he was erasing the mural. Which I'm not sure I fully understand the timeline of when that was, or what he was like if that was this one or if that was like a different Cleon. I have no idea. That's been kind of one of the hardest things is kind of figuring out which Cleons that we're in, like what time
Yeah.
period we're in with the Cleons and stuff, because they don't change. So it's a tough challenge for the filmmakers to kind of portray those in different ways. But we open with the
Uh,
young Dawn, young brother,
teenage.
teenage
Yeah.
brother Dawn. Yeah, we open with teenage brother Dawn, and he is played by. Let me see if I can get this. Cassian Bilton is the teenage brother Dawn. Again, another actor that looks like a young Lee Pace. It's
Yeah.
really I really like that they've kind of casted for faces in this. I sometimes I
Yeah.
don't like
That's
that because maybe the actors don't really portray that character that well, but they really do. He in this one, I immediately bought him as like he looks like a younger version of Lee Pace.
yeah. And what was the great with the casting is like you could see that transition. Like you could see the little kid, the teenage, the Lee Pace, and then
Mm,
the two older gentlemen as him. And it's really unique that they've casted everyone around him. And most shows, like how
right.
you mentioned, they don't really do that. They go like, okay, close enough, let's go. Close
Yeah.
enough,
Yeah.
we're good.
Right.
We'll just fix it up in CGI. And this one was
Yeah.
no, these guys look like different versions of Lee Pace.
Yeah, they really do look related, which is really interesting. But it opens on them. The first couple scenes are actually kind of establishing that these Empire characters, these Imperial clones, they have this like skin force field. that is kind of a kinetic barrier. So they established that first with Brother Dawn, the young teenage Dawn, I guess, jumping out of a window. So obviously they're setting up that he's going through some either mental or emotional distress, or maybe he's lashing out just because he knows that he would be okay anyway. Um, and they set up kind of a subplot with him and the gardener girl that they kind of explore throughout the episode there. And then
Yeah.
we also get a scene with Brother Day, Lee Pace's character, with a, I guess, like imperial concubine coming to, I guess, relieve some stress would be a good way to put it, I guess. And
Yeah.
and she asks him about the force field, and he essentially says, like, you know, if you touch it with any kind of force, it's going to repel it, but if you go very slowly and softly, you're able to kind of breach his skin force field or whatever that he has. So they've definitely set that mechanic up, as far as like, it seems like all of these Empire characters are extremely hard, I'm sorry, to damage,
Yes.
because they have this like constant skin force field happening, to the point where the kid jumped out of a window from like a really high tower and was like
And
fine. I
yeah, he
also
didn't like, really
uh,
die or anything like that either. That
yeah,
was
like
the
nothing
crazy part.
happened. What did you think? I really liked the production design of the garden. I remember thinking, dude, this garden looks so
Yes.
sick. Like when he
Yeah.
jumps out of the tower, I was like, the garden looks amazing. Like that whole thing.
What I liked about like the two scenes together is his force field, like the intricate design that went
Mm,
into designing, because it wasn't like a bland blanket like solid color. There is intricate woven designs into it that makes it unique, and it's kind of, you see that you're like, that's really really cool, and then it goes more
yeah,
into like the history of it, how it works. But I just love the design of every little aspect of it. And we talked
yeah,
about this before, like the production value is so unique. The set designers are so, they take everything into consideration. And the garden, the force field, it shows that they take the care to go, okay, let's make it a unique experience when you watch it.
yeah. I think watching this one too, it again was just stood out to me in the episode of just like the reason that this feels like a kind of fully fleshed out world already, even though we're only 4 episodes in, is because of the intricate details that they weave into the
Yeah.
set designs and the production design in this. I really loved, and this kind of brings us into the next scene too. I really loved their thrones in the throne room. I don't know if I didn't notice them in the episodes before, but I really like their like
Yeah.
really geometric, like square thrones and stuff. I just think that's a really cool concept. But that entire throne room looks amazing too.
Yeah. There's one thing I noticed that was really unique, because we're, as we progress, we see them at dinner, because I know there's they go to dinner, and they're and there teenage Dawn, or yeah, I'm just calling Teenage Dawn.
Yeah, we'll
Teenage
just call him
Dawn,
Teenage
when
Dawn.
everyone's picking up the glass, so you see Brother Day and Brother Dusk picking up the glass. They're picking up right-handed at the same time,
Hmm.
and Teenage Dawn goes instinctively with his left hand, and then he has to correct himself to his right hand.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems
And
like he's naturally rebellious or something. Like there's something different about him.
yeah, so like it's unique things like that, that you kind of see how they start separating. And this is the episode, like this is a scene where Lee Pace earns everything. Like he earns any accolades, because his acting has changed from each interpretation of the character that he plays,
Hmm.
and or generation of the character. He completely different acting, completely different everything. Like he
Yeah.
changed mannerisms, facial expressions, and that's what got me in that scene as well, because you got to see them talk about how Brother Dusk, his actions were the reasons for these things, and you see completely different acting for all the characters.
Yeah.
So I really did enjoy that, and it's like, ooh,
Yeah. So
I
we when we're in that throne room, apparently, so he was with his concubine. He gets called away by Demerzel. I'm trying to say all the names so that I can kind of like get them in my head. So Demerzel comes to interrupt his activities that he's doing with the girl there, and she says that he's needed in the throne room. He goes in. There's some kind of delegate there that essentially tells them, what I got from it is like there's like a pope kind of figure, a religious leader that had died, and that the next one up of this kind of this
yeah,
large religious leader, it turns out that it's somebody that that believes in some pretty dogmatic things about
Yeah.
Imperial cloning, and says that because they are clones that they don't have souls, and that kind of leads into that dinner conversation that you were referring to with Lee Pace. But
Yeah.
yeah, that whole scene, it's kind of setting up the effects of Harry's predictions seem to be going in that direction, and it seems to be really rattling the the Empire, I guess.
Yeah, because Harry's prediction needed two elements to kickstart it. It needed the religion
Mm-hmm.
issue and a violent insurrection. And right now they have the religious issue popping up, and the violent insurrection is kind of foreshadowed
Mm-hmm.
in the previous episodes, especially after the Starlight Bridge got blown up. You start seeing like that type of uprising, and you're like, okay, is that the violent insurrection, or is there something else, something bigger that could
Yeah,
possibly
yeah.
be the catalyst?
Right, but it's definitely seeming like these kind of things are fitting into place. Um, so yeah, they bring the they go to the dinner and stuff, and that's where he has the conversation with, and pretty much tells them that because we're clones, they think we don't have a soul, and you can see the kids
Yeah.
kind of rattled by that. The teenage Dawn seems to kind of take that to heart, I guess. So you were referencing Lee Pace's performance too, and I think this was his strongest episode as far as his character and his performance was. He really went through the entire gamut of emotions throughout the episode, and was like super just intense throughout this whole thing, but just really commanding presence.
Yeah. And because in all that scene, because there's like three main scenes in that, because you have the throne room, you have the dinner, and then Brother Dave calls in the statisticians that have been working on the psychohistory for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that scene where he just rips into them, berates them, belittles them,
Yeah,
was so like, I felt like, holy crap. Like
yeah.
I was in that room. I was like, oh God, I'm glad he's not yelling at me.
He yelled a guy to death.
I know.
Like, yeah, like how like gangster is that? He yelled a guy to death, which was pretty insane.
And no one cared. And that was the crazy thing. Like he literally falls face forward, dead. And
Yeah, yeah.
everyone's like, okay, we're up. We're done. No.
It's like he
We're
knew
done.
he was gonna do that. He's just like, I'm gonna scream this guy to death. That's
Yeah.
some kind of superpower we have. They haven't revealed yet, I guess. He could just yell people to death. But yeah,
so
I felt it too. I was just like, oh my god, like he is. Yeah, he just chews up all these scenes that he's in. He does such a fantastic job. But again, at that dinner where earlier before that, at the dinner where he's talking to teenage Dawn about the cloning and stuff, there's another subplot that rears its head, which is that this brother Day has a pretty intense resentment for Brother Dusk. So he so Brother Dusk immediately, once they find out that the religious leader, there seems to be kind of a dogmatic zealot that seems to be
the next
taking
Proxima.
over. The next Proxima, yeah. He
Numenez,
says I'm gonna
Numenez.
go to the conclave, which I'm assuming is the kind of the headquarters, I guess, of that religious leader, to kind of be there in person, because this seems like a very delicate situation, right?
Yeah, and he
So
mentions that he was there for the first to get the successor elected before they passed away. He was like,
right.
okay, well, I'll get this one selected. And I believe it was Ifa that they were going to help do it.
If I'm not sure if she's the one that's
Ifa's
is
competitor.
Is she the competitor, right?
Yeah, she's the competitor.
Right, okay. Yeah, so they essentially, he says I'm going to go to the conclave and take care of this, but you can definitely tell that there's like a really growing resentment, or not growing, I think it's just been there for a really long time, of the decisions made from Brother Dusk when he was Brother Day, and how this Brother Day is having to kind of clean up that mess. So they're definitely kind of referencing that. So then the episode kind of jumps to back to where the episode ended last episode, which is on Terminus with Salvor Horton at Arrow Point, kind of trying to talk her way out of getting killed or getting shot by the Anacreans. Yeah. So the Anacreans are kind of holding her at Arrow Point, and she's kind of pleading and kind of trying to figure out why they're there. She's kind of stumbled upon them. She was also, if you remember from last episode, she was chasing like a kid into there. So she was having these kind of visions of a kid, which also rear its head in this episode as well.
And I have a theory about the kid. Do you want me to say it now or do you want me to say it later?
Yeah, we can
I'll
say
say
it
it later.
later
I'll
because
say it later.
I have a theory
Yes.
too, and we may have the same theory too. So when we get to I think when we get later in the
Yeah, I
episode
know.
where she's driving,
Yeah, I know
we could probably
exactly
say it
where we're
then. Yeah.
going. Yeah.
So yeah, she's with the Anacreons. They say that they are looking for a navigation module at that ship, the main
Yep.
ship that they got there, and then they stripped for parts. They're looking for a navigation module. We don't really know
Yeah,
for
and they
sure if
said
that's really what they're looking for, but that's what they say they are to
yeah,
her.
because they say that they're scrappers and they're like, oh, we're scrappers, we're looking for the navigation module. And
Right.
this is where I really love um Salvor Horton. She because that's where she goes like, you guys are not scrappers. You would have already known that by now. This ship has been crashed for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
You would have known that this was already been scrapped. So
Right.
what's up? And they
Yeah.
still say no, no, we're looking for the navigation module. So that's where I start like, okay, I love her. She is awesome.
She is really cool, and I like that she's just like so blunt and to the point. Like she's not like tiptoeing
She
around
has
anything.
no tact.
Yeah, she's just like she's just trying to figure out what's going on, and she's not mincing words or anything. She's just being like completely blunt about it, and that's kind of been her character so far, which is kind of refreshing too. Also the girl that plays the I want to say Keen. What's the huntress name? Do you know her?
Uh, the Grand Huntress Farah Keen.
Farah Keen, yeah. So they find this out later that that's who she is. But the girl that plays, I thought she did a really good job in this episode too. Farah Keen did. So she questions Salvor Hardin. Salvor Hardin says that she can't help them essentially, and then she
Yeah,
threatens
because
them
of the
with the
force field.
kids. And she says like, we'll get the kids to help us. We need to get to this certain tower." And then they say that we saw you fixing the force fields earlier, so you're the perfect person for us to kind of take hostage to get to the tower. Um,
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, disable it," and that's where she's like, "No, I can't. I can only take one of you guys with
mm-hmm,
me at a time because it's DNA locked."
right.
And this is where I think the episode starts hitting its stride perfectly. So Salvor brings Farah with her. They get into the ship, and as they're driving, Salvor goes, "I know what to do." First, drives directly towards the vault,
Mm-hmm.
and Farah passes out. And from there on, that from that scene, it was just perfect. I think it hit its stride, and these next few parts is why the episode to me is wonderful.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Should we save our predictions for what the ghost kid is towards the end, maybe? Do you want to just save then?
Uh, yeah, we'll say it then. We'll say it after the episode because I think that
Because I think
yeah,
that's gonna be something that would be good for the prediction portion of this is kind of like what we think
yeah,
are of those things. So yeah, she's taken hostage. She has to hold on to one of them, which she says. I guess what I wanted to say too earlier was when she's on the ship and she's being held hostage. I did find it kind of convenient that they kind of happen upon her, and then they know that she's the warden, or like they know that she's the one that's been fixing the things too, like they've been like spying on her too.
yeah,
So they're like, oh, you're the one person that can actually help us get through this force field. How convenient for you to just kind of like run up on us like this.
yeah. It's just like it. I know there's a certain term. There's a movie term for it where it's just like it just a happen. It's a coincidence. It just
Yeah, yeah.
oh, it just so happens to happen. It's
But it's tough to like um it's tough to knock points against coincidences in the show because the show is about determinism. So you never know
yeah,
if it's a coincidence, if it is just a coincidence, or if it's something that was like preordained because of some kind of like mathematical formula that came. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So like
and yeah, because it goes into yeah.
when things
Oh
feel
no, sorry, go for it.
coincidental, yeah, when things feel coincidental, it's like as a movie or TV fan, I'm like, oh well, that's convenient. But at the same time, it's
Yeah,
like, well, this show is kind of about that, so yeah, I
yeah.
kind of give it a little more leeway.
And you see Salvor, she's the warning, she's always traveling and all that stuff. So it
Mm-hmm.
makes sense that she gets caught, and she was the one that saw the Arancan, and the
Anacreons,
Anacreans, thank you,
Anacreons, yeah.
Anacrean ships. She was the one that saw all that stuff. She's the one that. So it makes sense that she was there. And as the episode progresses, like you see when Farrah gets captured, and it goes on, and you see the amount of Anacrians there, you're like, oh, how long have they really been there? And you
Hmm.
start figuring out like maybe they were spying on her, maybe they knew who she was because they knew about the kids, and we
Right.
didn't see the kids for a couple of days, so it's like they've been there for a while to know a lot of this stuff that's been happening.
Yeah. So they take Salvor, like you said, she gets in the car and she's driving and she sees a vision of a little kid in front of her that the Thes or the Anacreon huntress does not see. I'm gonna get her name eventually. Uh, that Farah Keen does not see. So she sees like a vision of a kid that she doesn't see, and then she does the awesome move of I'm gonna drive near the null field. She doesn't know anything about the null field, so it'll knock her out, which was
Yep.
super smart. So they take her back to her father and her mother, and she's kind of talking to her there, and then they have this really cool interrogation scene. What did you think about that
Yes.
scene there?
That scene was amazing. I know I'm using like this is my favorite, but that
Yeah.
scene, the intensity that was in there, like how intense it was. You got to see it when she flips the coin and calls
Mhm.
it, when she calls it, when she calls it, and she's flipping it, and you see the panic, the terror on Farrah's face growing, 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 and it was just it just nailed it. And then the thespian, her manservant, you just see him going like, yeah, I'm not surprised. This is standard for us right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting, the whole the coin flip thing and her doing probabilities. It reminded me of Gail's prime number counting thing too, where it was like it seemed like they're both kind of they have this kind of mathematical intuition. It's
I
that
like how
like
they,
that's what it kind of reminded me of, at least in that
yeah.
moment.
What I don't know if it's a throwaway or a mislead from Marvel, just because of David Goyer and his roles in some of the superhero stuff, is when they keep telling her, "Yeah, you're bad with math. You're bad with math. You're bad with math," but she's really good with probability. And when she did the
Hmm.
coin thing, she knew it's 50%, 25%, 12%, X percent. Like she knew the math
Right.
for that, and that is extremely complicated math when you enter in like fractions,
Yeah, once you get
percentage
to like the
signs.
third or fourth one, you're like, I don't know, like she's better at math than I am. I've like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
so for when you see that, and it gravitates to you, and you're like, okay, this is good. And so yeah, that scene was just spot on. It freaked her out, and it did
Mhm.
its job.
Yeah, I like that. And I like that it was the two women in the room that were kind of going head to head at it. I thought that was really cool. And then the guy was just kind of like that person on the side that kind of just like talking her up and going like, "Yo, she's really good at like reading people and all that kind of stuff."
Yeah,
I thought that was well done. The coin flip thing I thought was really cool. And again, it starts to. We've always known that there were special things about Salvor because she was the only one that was able to go near the vault. But
yeah.
they're introducing more like special things about her. Like there's obviously something extremely different about her. That she has some kind of purpose or something in this, because there's very specific things that are happening, and we'll definitely get to more of that as it
Yeah.
goes on. So they find out that that's the scene where they find out that Farah Keen isn't just a random smuggler, but she is. I don't know if you remember from episode 2, but when they came to present presents to the Empire, the
Yeah.
Thespians presented. I forget what artifact they presented.
It was the bow for the the Grand
That was
Huntress.
the Anacreons. I was thinking of the Thespians. What the
Yeah,
Thespians brought. The Thespians brought something, and then the Anacreons brought the Huntress, or the bow of the best hunter, I guess, of that land. So when she said that word, she said, "Oh, she's the new Huntress of this place." So she's like their top military commander. So why are they here just trying to get a nav console and stuff? So it raised a lot of questions there.
yeah. And Salvo, she has the best bullshit meter. Like her
Hmm.
bullshit meter is spot on. And if I ever have to go on like to truth or dare or to tell a lie or anything, like I'm bringing her with me.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, she's got like a superpower for that.
I don't know why I say truth or
and
dare. I'm like,
and it's not like it's supernatural intuition. Like it's
yeah,
like they make that pretty clear too as you're going through the episode. Is when she's intuiting those things about that girl, they were extremely specific. And after she got out, what I found was interesting was that Salvor was like, she seemed like physically affected because she could feel like this like black hole of despair
yeah.
coming out of her, that she wanted to die and stuff. So there's some kind of like
She
telepathic
starts
thing
the
that she's
clairvoyancy.
right.
that we talked about before, that there's clairvoyancy, that we think that that might be a trait
Yeah.
that these characters have.
And it's so weird to me that she's kind of ostracized with when she has these kind of like abilities, like whenever they introduce the I think his name's Lewis, the Lewis
Yes, Lewis.
character, the head of the foundation or whatever you want to call him. Whenever they introduce him, he's so kind of dismissive of her as like, oh, you're kind of, she's kind of ostracized because she's not part of the plan, is what he thinks. But it's like, I don't know how someone could have that amount of like kind of special characteristics and you not think that she's a part of, like, I don't know, I couldn't really I didn't really understand his perspective at all. I just remember thinking like, how do you think that she's not part of something positive for the foundation, which she has all of
Yeah,
these different kind of like supernatural traits that seem to be tied to that vault at that, at Terminus. I don't know. I didn't understand him. I don't know if maybe they flesh his character out more in the books and this was kind of just like a quick versions, but I didn't really understand his perspective at all.
yeah. I think he had to be the character that pretty much said like, yeah, we don't like you here because you weren't part of the plan. Okay, we gave you a reason why you weren't part of the plan. Move on.
He's
That's
just kind of introducing conflict,
yeah,
pretty, so um yeah, they essentially leave him to interrogate her while is it what's her boyfriend's name?
it's just manservant.
Man, no, he's got a name. Hugo, I think, is his name.
Yeah, his name
I
is
think his
Hugo.
yeah, I think his name's Hugo.
No, his name is Hugo.
Okay.
I just know him as manservant.
Yeah, I think it's easier to remember. So
I
yeah,
mean, he could be my manservant because
yeah.
damn.
Manservant and Salvo Horton go to, I guess, assist with the forces that are kind of trying to protect Terminus there. And while she's walking out, something really like weird happens, which is Salvo Horton essentially gets like consciously teleported to the library on Terminus,
Yeah,
and
and
she like sees everything for a second and then like falls back out of it.
yeah, and because she falls back out of it, and you see, and this is what I love about the show. And we talked about the set design. You see how bright, vibrant Harry Salden's library was, and
Mm-hmm.
how the colors change per location. Like you see, because it was on is it Terminus or Terminix?
Mm-hmm. Terminus.
Terminus. So you see on Terminus, it's bleak, it's dark, it's disgusting, it's barren. But when you get back to, I keep butchering
A lot.
Trantor. When
Yeah.
you get back to Trantor,
Trantor. Yeah.
yeah, when you get back to Trantor, it's golden, it's bright, it's beautiful, it's
Mm-hmm.
not, it's full of hope, and I just love that scene because it's the juxtaposition of both of this ghost that she's seen and what she's really at. It's nice. It's very beautifully done. And one of the things that we didn't talk about was this episode was directed by Alex Graves,
Mm-hmm.
who was also
Yeah. I
the
forgot
director
to.
for episode 3, which was your favorite episode so far.
Right. Yeah. So and yeah, these two have definitely been good. This one, like I said, just feels more like setting up pieces for what's about to happen when they what's about to happen in the coming episodes, which I think the pace is going to pick up a lot, and I think there's going to be a lot more consequential stuff that happens. To your point, it was a really good point about the Trantor library, and when she saw that, it was just this very warm, inviting like vision of that place.
Yeah,
And I think that really goes back to the show as a whole seems to be glorifying the idea of knowledge and science
yeah,
and stuff like that. So I think that was a very conscious choice in the coloring and all that kind of stuff to make it feel extremely like warm and inviting, and contrasted with Terminus is it's this library, it's this big bastion of knowledge, and I think that they're kind of glorifying that scene for that purpose. I think the show as a whole is just trying to glorify knowledge and
yeah,
scientific knowledge specifically.
yeah. And there's one thing that we didn't talk about that happens before the library encounter, because
Hmm.
I just love that she knew exactly like this is Harry Salden's library. Like that was one of the things she's like, yeah, I saw the kid in Harry Salden's library. But when Brother Dust actually goes to leave for Luminous,
Hmm.
Brother Day says this is the biggest interaction between those two, because this is where you get to
Hmm.
see Brother Day blame Brother Dusk for these conflicts, and he straight up tells him because the previous Brother Dusk that we saw get vaporized when he was Brother. I mean, it is Brother Dust, but Brother Darkness. When we saw Brother Darkness get vaporized, you see Brother Dusk kind of like realizing that he kind of screwed up, and this is where you see Lee Pace true form comes out and just goes, if Brother Dusk, previous or Brother Darkness, said, "Have mercy, don't do this. Instead, you did this.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one that caused these problems. We don't want you here. You are the reason why we're going through this. You are the reasons why my life is hell."
Right. Yeah, and it's and they also, there's another important key point. We also missed one other scene too that I want to retroactively add in too.
Yeah.
But in that interaction too, they also say that there's a policy that the brother Day does never leaves Trantor. Yep. He's always on Trantor, and this is like a huge break in policy for him to dismiss Brother Dusk back home and take over and say he's going to go take care of it because he doesn't want Brother Dusk, who was Day at the time, making impulsive, terrible decisions and stuff like that. And you can see that Demerzel is kind of torn between the two too. She does it's essentially like her kids are fighting, and she's like, guys,
they've always had peace.
Yeah, guys, chill out and stuff. So,
and this was some of the foreshadowing that we saw in the table scene, because we got to see some breaks in the characters, because there's another scene, I think I know which one you're talking about. There's another scene where Brother Don is left-handed. I think he's left-handed. And then now you see Brother Dawn and Dusk fight, or Day and Dusk fight over this, and there's never peace, because you see in the previous ones they've always been in unison, and they said, oh yeah, the Cleons are always in unison, we're always in unison, we're always in unison. And this is the first time you see all three of them not in unison doing something different.
Yeah, and I think it might be introducing to. Oh, I mean, we'll get into this for the predictions too, because I kind of want to do it in that section too. The scene that I was referencing. One, I want to go back and talk a little more about the Lee Pace killing a man with his voice. A scene. Yeah. I think that was really interesting. But also, there's the subplot with Teenage Dawn and the girl. So he essentially gets this like master assassin, what I think is like kind of a master assassin or secret service person for the Empire. I forget, his name's Olbrek, but I forget what they call him. It's like Storm Master or something like that.
Shadow Master.
Shadow Master Olbrek, that's just a really badass name, by the way. But he.
What's your name, Shadow Master?
Yeah, he tasks this person, who's probably very overqualified for this job, to just go find out what the name of this girl in the garden is. And fix this problem. And the whole episode I'm alluding to, like, are they gonna have this girl killed? Like, I'm sitting there thinking, like, is he just gonna like kill this girl?
No, because she witnessed him falling out of the window and the force field, so it's like, is she gonna die?
Yeah, and she may be the only one. She may be the only one that kind of knows that there's trouble in paradise, that something's going on with Teenage Dawn, that he's not maybe mentally. Or he's not in step with his brothers, and he's not something's up with him, I guess. So yeah. I think he's scared that she's gonna tell or something like that, or it's just a vulnerable moment for him. But you can see him kind of contemplating, like, how does this happen? Do I kill her? Do I exile her? Like, what goes on or whatever?
Yeah, I believe it's Bryn is the character's name. Briwan.
Bryn is the girl, the gardener?
Yes. Yeah, okay. I believe that's the gardener.
Yeah. So he goes to her in a later scene in the episode too, where he pretty much says, like, I could have you killed, and she gives him some kind of wolf's root or something that that eases his pain, and then he starts to develop a crush, and that's kind of the whole. They're kind of setting up that he's gotten some kind of some kind of affection for her.
Yeah, because he builds a little dragonfly drone, flies it around, and she knows that he's watching her. She just assumes that the dragonfly is kind of unique, cool. And you see the guy that's like, that got the name for him, kind of like walk around her, and you see the panic and terror in his face.
Yeah, he's like, oh shit,
that she was gonna die.
Yeah.
So it's a unique perspective, because then you have like Lee Pace yelling a man to death.
Right.
You have Brother Dusk destroying two civilizations, and you get to see this different perspective of each one, that it builds the characters, it builds Cleon, that like this is the first time you see the breaking of it. And I want to say another theory that I'm thinking of right now, that the cloning process, I want to say that the android, the Demerzella, I keep
Demerzel, I think. Demerzel.
Demerzel. I think Demerzel always is doing something to kind of get retribution against Cleon because you see more of their characteristics being different from each other. And I want to
Yeah.
say that she has a hand in that.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory too. And we can kind of dive into that with the predictions too, as far as what because I have a
Yeah.
theory about that. I have a theory about that too. But with the scene with the mathematicians where he brings them in and Lee Pace just
Yeah.
like completely chews the scenery in that scene like 150%. But he's essentially saying Harry Seldon's stuff is coming true. You guys have had 30, what is it at this point, 35 years to try to like figure out ordinal analysis or whatever
Yeah.
mathematical analysis that Harry Seldon was there, and try to disprove it. And they just seem super dismissive of it, but they don't seem like they're taking it seriously. And he's getting very upset about it. So
Yeah.
he yells a guy to death, which is pretty insane.
Yeah,
Um,
because you see him like asking like, is it 100? Was he 100% wrong? Because he understands math, he understands science, he
mhm.
understands laws and theories, and he goes, could it be disproven? Could Harry Seldon's psychohistory be disproven? And you see the statue is like, no, we can't disprove it because there's still like a 0.00001% chance that he is correct. And
Yeah,
it's great that you see that in the show because it shows that okay, science is important, science is relevant.
yeah,
And the two things that they talk about that will lead to the downfall of science is violence and religion. And that's a unique take on a lot of things that are enemies of science. And I that we're not going to get into like those like
yeah,
hot
yeah,
button issues, but it's you see that the two causes of the downfall of the empire is science and religion, or science and violence, or religion and violence. And it harkens back to the Roman Empire, that what caused it to fall. It was the splintering of the religion with Christianity, moving the capital from Rome to the Byzantine Empire to Constantinople,
hmm
and then the Goths or Visigoths invading Rome and sacking it. So it it's it's you see Roman influence in there, like the history of it. So that's really cool take that they're bringing
yeah,
that in.
yeah. I think
History major coming in.
exactly. Yeah. No, I think Asimov wrote this, I want to say in the 50s, right?
Yeah,
So this was definitely informed by like post World War II worldview and stuff like that. As far as I think a lot of this was kind of informed by that time period. So it's interesting um, how it still draws so many parallels to the present day, and I think we talked about that in
yeah,
the last episode too. But this was I don't know if that's a good thing, or that's obviously I don't think it's a good thing at all. But it's funny that this kind of post World War II perspective and stuff is so relevant today, now. And like you
yeah,
said, he's obviously a student of history and understands the whole thing is about kind of patterns of these small events that in hindsight toppled regimes and
yeah.
toppled all these different things, and about how you can potentially draw patterns from that. So it's really cool that the historical kind of implications of it. um,
But yeah, I think it's theory time.
Theory time, yes. So
Yes.
first let's do a quick little quiz.
Okay.
We'll
I'm
quiz.
gonna fail miserably.
Yeah, we'll do a quick little quiz and just see. I doubt either of us are probably gonna do too well on this, but I don't think a lot of viewers would either. I just feel like we're only 4 episodes in. I think if you're a viewer that hasn't read the book, I doubt that you would really do well in this kind of stuff anyway. Um,
Yeah, I think what kills us is that we hear a name once, we don't hear it again for like another like 30, 40 minutes. And by the time we're like, wait, okay, I know this name. And then you hear it like, oh crap, I can't remember it.
yeah, yeah. So the first one I'm gonna ask is actually a place. Do you remember where Gail Dornick is from?
Syntax.
Synax.
I was
Synax.
close.
It's close. Yeah, yeah. You,
Syntax.
you get the gist.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Do you know the
Oh,
name? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to go next?
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Hugo, we know that Arachne, we, wait, let me
Anacreon.
rephrase it. Anacron was one of the planets that got bombed, which was the second planet that got bombed.
The second planet was Thespis.
Yep.
Yeah, Thespis and Anacreon were those two. Um, do you know the name of Harry Seldon's protege?
Raish, which leads me
Rish.
to another theory that I'm going to talk about later. But yeah,
Yeah,
Raish.
yeah, ours, me too. Let's see. Do you have another, like, a character or something that
Yep.
I might know?
That's another question. Let me come up with a
Yeah,
character
yeah.
name. Let me come up with a
Okay.
character name. Okay.
So, do you know the name of, this one's a harder one because I don't think they've said his name too many times, but do you know the name of Salvor Horton's father in the show?
Abbas.
Abbas. Dang. Okay, I wouldn't have got that one.
Uh,
That's
I was
pretty.
gonna
That's
ask you
pretty
that
good.
question.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
No, if you, if I got one. If you're ready.
yeah. Go for it.
Okay. What is? Hmm. Okay. What is Hugo's trade
Ooh. Okay.
other than manservant?
I think it's trade, right? He's a trader.
Yeah, he's a merchant.
He's a merchant. Okay. Yeah. You're like, what is his trade? I was like, he trades. That's probably. I think that's
I
what
was
he
hoping
does. Yeah. Yeah.
to trip you up on that one.
Okay, here's another. What is the okay, so there's two different names for it. Do you know both names of what the um type of mathematics that Harry Seldon is doing is called?
I just know the first name, the psychohistory. Outside of that, that's the only one I remember.
Okay, yeah. They call it psychohistory, and then I don't know if it's exactly the same thing, but they call it ordinal analysis, I guess, is the kind of
Yeah, the what the
like
statisticians
how
were
they
trying
do
to
that and
disprove.
stuff.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of any other settings. So what's the name of the main home world where the Empire's from?
Trantor.
Trantor. Exactly.
Trantor.
And what was
Uh,
oh, go ahead,
hmm.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask you what was the final parting gift that that brother Day gave to brother Darkness?
Oh, wow. Final parting gift. Um, don't remember. I have no idea.
The final,
Was it food or
the final.
something?
This, nope, it was the final destruction of the Starlight Bridge.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. When they blow up the Starlight Bridge. That
Yep.
is right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that might have cemented something. Hopefully anybody listening or watching did better. Well, I
I
don't know.
hope so.
We did pretty well. I don't think we did too
Yeah,
bad.
I mean, there's a few ones I was like, oh crap,
Yeah,
but no, we did really
we
good.
probably picked easy ones just because that's where we're at, you know. But you did pretty good. So let's go ahead and finish out. We'll go ahead and get into some predictions. So we both were kind of chomping at the bit to talk about our race prediction, I guess, that you were talking about.
Yes.
So I'll let you go first, and I'll let you know. I'll see if mine kind of is the same as yours.
My prediction is when Salvor has the images of the ghosts,
Mm-hmm.
that is her father Raish that she sees.
Oh, okay. I think.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and this is going to be the one where I'm saying nope. Race is not, or Salvor's mother is not Gal. It's the girl that she was talking to at the very, very beginning that's pregnant.
Okay.
That's going to be the mother, because she asked her, who's the father? She goes, I don't need to tell you. And because she said I didn't need to tell you, she knew that if she tell her that it was Raish, it will break her heart.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, I can see that. I was with you on the first part. I'm not saying I'm not with you on the second part, but I didn't click with me in the first one. But I think the kid is Raish. I think that makes the most sense. So
Yeah.
the kid that she's seeing is Raish, and somehow I think that she's entering Harry's perspective. So when she's doing these things and she's seeing these things, I think she's like inhabiting his consciousness, and I think that's gonna play a role in the future as far as her ability to kind of interact with these things, because she somehow is communicating with Harry's consciousness. Because a lot of the because how else do you see that vision in that library with him running around? The only person that was
Yeah.
what he was with was he was adopted by Harry. So I don't know, it makes sense.
And one of the things I've noticed with the show is you don't see a lot of visual images, like picture books, pictures, visuals of what Trantor looked like, pictures of what other places look like.
Mm-hmm.
And she instantly knew that it was Harry Sullivan's library. Like she knew right away that's Harry Sullivan's
Right.
library. And to me, I like where you're going, that it's his perspective. And it might be that she might have a connection to Harry Sullivan. Like she
Mm-hmm.
might be a clone or a hybrid clone or a something that will help keep things alive.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's unique because they keep the cloning process so tight-lipped, and and my theory is you start seeing the flaws from the Dramazel
Hmm.
doing them onto the current Cleons, that I think that they got a hold of that cloning technology, and that could be a hybrid clone of like Raish, Harry Salden, and different things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. As far as the I'm trying to think what we were talking about where I said we should save it for later for as far as Demerzel is concerned. Do you remember what it was that we were waiting on?
There's the android thing where she had to split
Oh,
herself between like have to pick who she wants to protect, the brothers, the issues with the cloning, that she
I
might be
remember it now.
behind the cloning, and
Yeah.
it could be like the long con that she was waiting for enough time to pass, that her influence is key, that whatever she says
Hmm.
is as if it's coming from the mouth of the emperor.
Hmm.
I think she was finally able to garner enough influence to get her revenge for her people, because they've always told her, "You're the last of your kind. You're the last of your kind. You're the last of your kind."
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. She's I think and I think we talked about this in the first one too. Even in the first couple episodes, I said she's gonna be like a super super consequential character down
Yeah,
the road. I think her character is gonna be like insanely consequential. So there's a couple things that jumped out at me regarding her character, which is like you said, they're obviously introducing that there's some kind of differences that are going on with Teenage Dawn. We already saw him like destroying the mural in another flashback and stuff like that. This might be the same Dawn in this one, like later on. um and also he, like you said, he's left-handed. He seems to be like, whenever they gave condolences to the Proxima person, he was off sync with them, and he wasn't in sync at all. So there seems to be
yeah,
some kind of split happening. I think where we disagree is I'm not sold that Demerzel's behind it. I think what it might be is like there's a natural kind of damage that's occurring generation to generation with these. And I see her more as a tragic figure that's like the mother that has to watch her kids die over and over again. And I see like so my prediction is that I think that just naturally through the cloning
hmm,
process, there's some damage that's slowly occurring and slowly changing,
yeah.
and it's damaging these kids, and that I don't think it's any kind of nefarious thing that she's necessarily
Okay.
doing. But they are setting up. I can totally see where you're coming from, because they are setting up that she's obviously extremely like her people were wiped out, or her I don't want to say people. I guess people. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. But her people were wiped out in some kind of
Can we
AI
say
wars.
people? Is that PG enough? Like, I know they're
Yeah,
androids, but like,
I think we can be progressive and say they're people, I guess.
okay.
Um,
um,
no, go
but
ahead.
something that you brought up, but like, I do agree with you on this. It's and I might have to I might have to take back my theory about her being involved. Is you don't see her so much involved with Dawn's life. Like, you don't see him go to her. He doesn't go to her for advice.
Hmm.
He went to somebody else for advice. He went to somebody else who's like, hey, the gardener says that this is Wolfbane or Wolfbite or Night Wolf. Um, Eat it.
Yeah,
She eats it after she told him what it was. And beforehand, you would see them go to her. You see Day go to
right.
her. Dusk, like, she was always their confidant. This was the first time you didn't see one of the Cleons go to her for advice
Yeah.
for and things like that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because she went to Shadow Master Albrecht, and she went to the, like you said, the gardener to ask about that stuff. And yeah, in past episodes, now I'm thinking about it, they would have she's at their disposal for everything. So obviously she may be losing influence with him because of maybe some genetic differences that are manifesting
Yeah,
themselves in the line, and they're not feeling as connected to her there. Um the so yeah, I can totally see either way. I think I lean more. I think when they because in episode 3 they really set up how tragic of a figure she is. It was
yeah,
really I really empathize for her a lot, because it felt like you have to raise your kid and then literally watch them die over and over again. And I was just like, that's like a
yeah,
horrible like existence, you know. Just to
yeah.
constantly
And
see that happen over and over again.
with the current brother Day, when she got hit 35 years before by the piece of shrapnel,
Hmm.
you saw him there with her throughout the entire process, how she revealed, like, yes, I am an android, and she healed her shoulder, as I show me
Yeah,
here
yeah.
healing my shoulder. But you got to see that there's connection there.
Hmm.
And now he almost kills himself. The only person that knows about it is the gardener,
Yeah.
and that's
Right.
it. And
Yep.
beforehand, she would know about it. So yeah, I think I need to take back my thing about her being evil and planning the revolution, and go more with yours that the
Yeah.
cloning process is flawed after time, because you're just recloning the same cells over and over, and there's
Right.
degradation of the cells.
Yeah, and I think when you get to this amount of the different lines of Cleons, you start to see cracks in those things there. It's not as perfect as it was before. But real quick too, there was two other things that occurred in the episode that was going to lead into what we think of the next episode is going to be. So the one thing
Yep.
is Brother Dusk, who was relegated back to Tantor or Trantor. He calls in some like special agent and says, "Hey, we've got blackouts in Terminus. You need to go investigate." So obviously, this next episode is going to have him, because they have jump drive technology, so he's going to be there in an instant to investigate why that relay. And he also said the Foundation has been dark on us. Make sure to go and remind them that they need to be informing the Empire of things. So that's definitely going to rear its head,
Yeah.
either if not in the next episode, the one after. Because the reason why I think it might not be the next episode that comes up is because of the final sequence, which we finally see Gail Dornick, and she's floating in
Yep.
space, and obviously there's a ship there that is getting her. So she's not just floating aimlessly in space. Something found her, and she's going to be entering the ship there. So I really feel like the next episode's going to be really her story as far as what
Yeah.
happens when she gets out.
And real quick, because I know we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah.
Who do you think picks her up?
Ooh, I don't think we know. I think my theory when she first left was that it was the Anacreans. I
Yeah.
probably still think that. I still think that that's probably the case. If it's not them, I think it's something we haven't been introduced to yet. So it's
Yeah.
either some characters or something that they're going to introduce to us next episode.
Okay.
But I think if it's somebody we know, I think the Anacreans make the most sense for me, because then it would explain, if Gail Dornick has given them some kind of knowledge, it would explain why they're all of a sudden on Terminus, and they're
Yeah.
giving some bullshit about using a nav thing. I think that would make the most sense. So that's where I'm leaning,
Oh, yeah.
but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that one. I think it's the Anacrons. It just makes
Yeah.
perfect sense.
Yeah, and if it's not them, I think it's gonna be somebody new. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I think the next one's gonna be really interesting to see with Gale. It also is setting up that the next episode, because they said,
Yes.
like, I think when the cannons were pointed at the force field, they said this is where the fall started or whatever. So
Yeah.
there's obviously
We're
gonna be
gonna-
something very noteworthy and big and probably destructive that occurs on Terminus in the next episode. So I'm really interested to see kind of how that all plays out.
Yeah, same here. I'm really interested to see how it goes.
Awesome. Well, this one was a lot of fun. Guys, if you guys like the this kind of podcast format, make sure to follow us on Twitch here. You can also
Yep.
follow me at ndg1221 on Twitter as well. I post when we're going live for those, but we're definitely
Oh.
gonna do. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You gotta talk about your watch parties.
Yes. So I host if anybody's into movies and stuff, I host a weekly watch party on my channel. It's youtube.com/thedistract. And we are going to be watching, I think right now it's down to Little Shop of Horrors and
Ooh.
The Young Frankenstein are the two that are in. I think they're tied right now. So in the next few hours, we'll find out which one we're watching, but we're going to be watching that on Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So if anyone wants to join in on that, you can do that. I also write movie reviews on the discmedia.com,
Yep.
so you can always check that out as well. And do you have anything coming up? Do you write anything for Geeks Worldwide?
Yep, I write. You just find me on Geeks Worldwide. I am Brian Villar. You could find me there. Coin Out Brian. I write some reviews right now. Did a review for the DC Horror Presents Soul Plumber. It was written by the guys that do the last podcast on the left. Really unique book. I highly recommend it. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. But yeah, just write reviews there. We're gonna come out with some new stuff coming up. We're working on a top fall movies, because not everyone likes horror films for
Yeah.
Halloween, so we're doing top fall movies.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I want to thank you, like, being able to come on. I know you did Comic-Con
Yeah.
and it's crazy and you were able to make it and do this stuff. But guys, we
Yeah.
will be here same time next Friday for episode 5. We're really looking forward to it. So about 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, same place.
Yep.
All right.
Look forward to it. It's gonna be awesome.
What is it? Enjoy or respect and enjoy the peace, right?
Yeah, something like that.
We'll see you
figure it out
guys
next
later.
week.
All right,
Bye.
bye.